I eat a lot of sheet metal. People have tried telling me that I have an addiction, but I ignore them, because my therapist tells me that I'm somebody who should avoid negativity. What I am more addicted to is insanely violent 3D geometric frameworks, partly because I like the foreboding feeling it gives me, similar to nearly dying in a high-speed collision, but more than that, I enjoy the anguish it afflicts on those I show it to. Naturally, my goal has become to acquire as many of the worst examples of digital assets as possible, and show it to as many people as I can before I am committed involuntarily. It seems I previously made a mistake in assuming I would need to bring the bad models to VRChat, when in reality they were always there, waiting for me, like a mail-order bride. I dearly wanted to share some heinous examples with you all, but I didn't really feel like digging through e-girls, beta male orbiters, and whatever this is again to find them. I needed a way to discover more violent topology without needing more professional counseling than a game developer already requires. Like any good entrepreneur, I needed a way to streamline the process. Thankfully, after a very long and arduous 10-minute Google search, I discovered a website called vrmodels.store, a reprehensible abyss where things like blurring adult content has the consistency of a United States president. I'm pretty sure in my research, every model I've downloaded has contained some kind of Bitcoin miner, Trojan virus, or some other form of malicious software. However, I have been secretly microdosing my computer with low-level malware for multiple years, and it has almost certainly become immune to whatever this website could throw our way. I tried downloading the newest character model listed on the front page. It took me to a mega download link with a Unity package file. After doing my due diligence and praying to higher powers, I went ahead and downloaded the file directly to my computer. Since this is a Unity package, we're going to have to jump through some hoops to get to the model, but luckily I happen to have my own project, AllGoblin, open in the background at all times. Meaning we have two options: learn how to open a Unity package and sift through a million useless folders to find it, or import it directly into my own project right now. I went ahead and unpacked it into AllGoblin, which took about 2 to 3 Clash Royale matches. This is now the new main character of AllGoblin, and if you have a problem with that, congratulations, you're a misogynist. The Unity package was just shy of 1 GB and is over twice as large as AllGoblin itself. Luckily, I know a thing or two about big packages, and now that my game has double the assets it used to have, we can successfully open this character in Blender. It's just shy of 200,000 polygons, but this is definitely due to the downright gluttonous amount of clothing items attached to it. The topology itself was a little excessive in some places, but overall it was fine, which means I don't care about it, so we will have to continue our search. I soon found another Bitcoin miner in disguise, quickly imported it into AllGoblin and then into Blender, where my eyes were assaulted by what appeared to be 30 to 40 armature bones. I assumed that whoever uploaded the model had left in front checked off in the armature tab, which would make all bones appear on top of the model regardless of the camera angle. I don't usually say this, but I was incorrect, and enabling in front revealed about 100 more bones. Unsure as to what I was looking at, I attempted to do a little research. I at first thought it might be the multiple outfits buried beneath this bone Christmas tree, but they didn't even have as many clothing items as the AllGoblin main character, and not all of them would have needed custom bones anyway. I started digging into the armature names to try and ascertain what this might all be for. However, discovering the multiple bones labeled for both Coochie and Tummy Jiggle prompted me to end this search early. That is all I needed to know. On to the next model. A wheelchair with almost 700,000 triangles, which is honestly a very impressive number when looking at the model itself. It looks alright from a faraway view, but looking up close it is insanely detailed, having all nuts and bolts individually modeled. What tips the scale over is likely the treads on the tires being modeled individually, and each one having the faces continue through to the insides of the tires. This might be the most represented wheelchair users have been since Spy Kids 3D. I tried to continue my search, downloaded a few more files until the default browser on my computer changed and I became stuck typing with some kind of foreign hieroglyphics and had to move on to the next area of study: AI generated 3D models. Using AI to create your models might be one of the least respectable areas AI has invaded, in my opinion. I understand the AI voiceovers. I understand using it to write your college thesis and subsequently flunking when you forget to remove the ChatGPT prompt in the beginning. But creating models is the most fun and engaging part of almost anything it is a part of, even if you are no good at actually doing it. I would know. And after finding what you are about to see, I will never understand how someone could take the heart and soul out of this beautiful field of art in exchange for this. I took a look at 3 different online 3D model generators, the first of which was Trippo 3D. I needed something that I could use as a kind of bedrock for which I could test these with. I needed someone strong, dependable, and with a large amount of sex appeal. It took about half of a Clash Royale game to model and texture the 4 different Markipliers. Picking one and throwing it into Blender, we can examine it a little closer. Just shy of 500,000 faces, every facet of this model was lovingly generated to perfectly complement the god in which its image was made. If you are a fan of those topology gore posts that are nothing but orange because of how dense the object is, this should excite you, because what we found here is a website that generates these completely for free. No more subdividing several times and hoping that your computer doesn't end its suffering prematurely. What's even better, we aren't even the ones doing it anymore. Can't have shit as a 3D artist. An interesting thing to note is that there are exactly as many triangles as there are faces, because quads quite simply do not exist here. Utilizing the tries to quads feature just about halves the polygon count, but to be honest, it somehow makes it look even worse. Obviously, the next course of action was to see if my job as a goblin enthusiast was about to be outsourced. I specifically entered a prompt for a full character model of a goblin, since Markiplier seems to have been permanently trapped in a Dr. Green-like bust in his likeness. Very disappointingly, these models were far cries from what a goblin actually looks like, and quite frankly, I've never been more offended. There seems to be some kind of confusion here because these resemble rat demons rather than goblins. I picked the only one that didn't have a tail, but even with that glaring issue out of the picture, nothing about this object resembles a goblin in any way, and if it does for any of you, then you're a moron. The 450,000 triangles seem to be contributing to a few areas this time, namely the extremely accurate muscle anatomy, some polyps forming here and there, and the elongated nipples, which I would like to remind you are not accurate to goblins. I would like that to be very clear. I got curious and went to see what the texture given by the website looked like and found a beautifully illustrated UV map. I might not be out of a job, but if you're an abstract artist, then I hope you're also good at customer service. Through the power of correlation and causation, I deduced that this may indicate the UV maps of this model would be particularly interesting. It's a little impressive that the model can look as presentable as it does with texture maps like this, at least until you look too close. Still, hurt by what this godless machine believes a goblin looks like, I attempted to gaslight it into self-destructing, but it didn't seem to do much.
No.
The models it produced from my attempt were just as dogshit, so I moved on to the next website. Meshi AI would be the second victim to get a glimpse into my twisted psyche. On its homepage, it had a list of companies they have presumably worked with proudly scrolling by, including some household names such as Sega. Markiplier was up first, as he should be. It gave me a little quiz I couldn't avoid while it generated the Markipliers, so I was unable to give it the Clash Royale rating. But texturing almost took a full match, which knocks it below Trippo quite a bit in generation time. It claims the default models range between 100 to 200,000 faces, but the one I chose had 240,000. Once again, we have the same amount of triangles as faces, only for some reason, almost every edge has been marked as sharp, giving the model this strange texturing all over it. I thought every edge had been marked as sharp at first, but there are some edges without this in completely random places. This is an easy fix, and removing it reveals it somehow looks even worse than the topology from the last Markiplier, despite being less dense overall. Moving on to the goblin model, we once again see this strange misconception that goblins are in some way related to rats. I would like to have a word with these AI moguls. Someone get me in a room with them. I want to, invest. This one had 439,000 faces, and it just looks god fucking awful. The mouth turns into this terrible rat snout, the head bulges out like a Twitch streamer, It has these strange holes all over it like it's been shot dead in the Bronx. The feet are modeled perfectly though, very accurate. In all good industries, they have the final test, the crucible by which a product's future will be decided. If it cannot pass this, it is not ready. Human testing, the durability test, college campuses. In our case, we will attempt to recreate the perfect specimen using the image to model option. If it cannot create a good model from this, it's not likely it will do anything correct. It failed all 4 attempts spectacularly. Like a father at a baseball game watching his 7-year-old strike out, I was not happy. It probably would have done better from a text prompt. None of the guitars were even close to passable. The best one was probably the one with the cinder block for a cape. It has 3 arms, but it got the ass right at least. Overall, very disappointing. Lastly, I wanted to see how a paid version of this service would fare. I settled on Deep AI. It was $5 to get some credits to use the 3D generation, but I had to pay again because I didn't realize that you had to pay for the subscription in order to actually use the 3D generator. I had high hopes for this version of Markiplier. After seeing the work of the free versions, I could only imagine what awaited me for $5 whole of milk-drinking beauty.
Bring me a bucket of cream.
It took almost an entire Clash Royale match to create one single Markiplier. 135,000 polygons later, and it barely registers in your brain as having a face. I think it remembered this image from when I attempted to get around the paywall by using the image to model prompt.
I have red hair.
He would always say that.
Goblins were up next, and once again I had high hopes because the past attempts had me in belief that anything must be better. I'm not sure how this was produced. I even put full body in the prompt to make sure that it actually produced an entire goblin model this time. This was just uninspired, which is not an insult I thought would have any merit for a computer-generated 3D model, yet here we are. I wanted to push Deep AI to its limit, so I entered a complicated prompt involving Crash Bandicoot with 13 arms and 16 legs. It just made Crash Bandicoot. And the topology is dog shit. I think this machine is mocking me because now it creates something with a full body but doesn't give the same respect to the goblins or Markiplier. To make matters worse, it only looks a little bit like Crash Bandicoot. In a last desperate attempt, I tried to give it the easiest possible prompt, something so simple it couldn't possibly get this wrong. I gave it Apple. It fucked it up. And its 98,000 faces. Naturally, I put everything together in Unity. Now the main character of my game has reached its full potential, and All Goblin can at last reach a widespread audience. I can't in good faith recommend you use AI-generated models in any capacity. Unless you are quadriplegic, legally blind, or European, it is literally impossible for you to do worse than this. Thank you for watching. I thought that the models I'd looked at in the past had been the worst this wretched world had to offer. If I learned one thing in making this video, however, it's that I haven't even scratched the surface of what man-made horrors lie in wait out there, and I'm very much looking forward to sharing more with all of you.